It's the Weekly Wrap with your host, broadcasting legend Bruce Wolf, and his trusty sidekick, comedian Tim Slagle. And now, without further ado, Bruce Wolf.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. And now it's time for my favorite part of the show, wherein I guess what is in Tim's background. And Tim, I'm going to say, you got one of those bargain basement $5 Hunter Biden original paintings. $5. That's how much you paid for it, right? That's
well, they're going pretty cheap right now.
Yeah,
I hear he's broke, but no, I thought I would take a little visit to Kyiv and see what's going on here. Oh my God.
Will work for. I don't see what's behind it.
Weapons.
For what?
Will work for weapons.
For weapons, totally. Yeah. I was actually in New York last Friday because it was my grandson's bar mitzvah that weekend, and I was kind of hoping for quiet politics things. So I admit that I'm a little bit biased. I don't like Trump, that loudmouth guy from Queens when I'm in Long Island. I don't like him taking up my time. And it was like, come. And then, the podcast that I steal from, the commentary podcast, they had to do an emergency podcast based on this. And, and then, of course, and this isn't even the big thing that happened because it's so many days ago. We also have Trump speaking before Congress. And it's just like, I give the guy credit. I mean, he's been at the forefront of, since The Apprentice was canceled. I think that was his revenge. And it's okay. I mean, it reminds me a little bit in a Chicago sense of the hold that Mike Ditka had on this city for about a decade. And when he had a heart attack, Stephen Gary, credits to them, they said, he probably had gas pains. Everybody else is going. And I'm interviewed by Rich Roper, then way before his Ebert days. He's not even a columnist at that point. And he interviews me specifically because he's interviewing all the celebrities in Chicago, and everybody says, we hope the coach gets better and everything. And he knows that when he interviews me and he can end it with somebody on a sour note. And I said, Chicago, I mean, it's the biggest hick town in the United States. It's a football coach, for crying out loud. And, as far as I'm concerned, it's the president of the United States. And that's not that big a deal. And one of the reasons it's not that big a deal is because Trump made it that way. Because I'm watching that State of the Union or whatever they called it, the address before Congress. And did you see, and we could get the C-SPAN tweet up. Oh, not C-SPAN. It's Clay Travis, who's got our job, basically. He talks about, he's conservative, and he talks about sports some, and he's leapfrogged over us. So he's got Nicole Wallace, MSNBC host, says she hopes the 13-year-old cancer survivor kid who wants to be a cop doesn't kill himself like January 6th cops. These people are broken. I'm saying, if she played it for laughs, I could almost see it, sick humor, but she's dead serious. And I'm thinking, all you have to do is flip it over a little bit. I'm watching this thing, and I'm thinking, there's JD behind him, and there's Mike Johnson behind him, and I'm wondering, why isn't Viking Man there? Jacob Chansley. Why isn't he an honored guest? I'm not saying he's as worthwhile as the cancer survivor who gets to be in the Secret Service or FBI or whatever it was, or Laken Riley's parents. I'm not talking that, maybe not that big a deal, but here's a guy. I mean, all these people were pardoned, so they obviously were vindicated for what they did, and that's the guy who was standing there right and where Nancy Pelosi had presided. And,
sure.
How about scooching over Mike Johnson and J.D. Vance? And, I'm not saying J.D. has to take a lap dance from the guy, but, everybody should have been up there. So
they didn't even let those guys into CPAC. There was a whole bunch of them. Yeah, there was a whole bunch of them. There's a whole bunch of them went down, tried to get into CPAC, and
they didn't break the doors down to get into CPAC.
Well, actually, no. They kind of got booted out, And so they went right to the right-wing media and said, "Can you believe that we got?" And all of a sudden it's like, "Oh, no, there must have been some sort of mistake."
So funny. Not in my neighborhood. It's a little they're a little right. It's a little right-wing version of NIMBY, and it's very nice. So so Trump, yeah, he gets very upset. There's some clip somewhere of him getting upset that he says to somebody, you're talking to the president of the United States, and you crapped all over the idea of the presidency, buddy. I mean, more power to you that way, but now you can't expect everybody to be to be honoring you so much. Still in all, gotta give him credit, because as bad as Trump can ever look, the Democrats look worse. I mean, what they did, and of course, their leader, I am so in love with you, Al Green, standing there with his, and I guess, was he censured today by with none of maybe only a handful of Democrats voting for censuring him.
10 Democrats voted to censure him.
Okay, all right.
It's the rest all pretended they were still at the State of the Union and sat on their hands.
Okay, so I was wondering what those paddles were for. I thought the paddles were bidding to have dinner with Trump for $5 million, which is he's selling that to. Oh, I'll go 6. So,
well, actually, what I think it was is that is because they have high security, so there's only certain things you're allowed to bring into the State of the Union,
right?
And essentially, I think they claimed they were fans in case it got too warm. But that was, I mean, they would have rather had giant posters, giant stadium World Series posters to hold up.
I thought maybe that somebody would have Dylan Mulvaney as a guest and they would be paddling him.
Maybe they're going to have her play a little. Nancy Pelosi was going to play a little pickleball after the
right. So it was just and they managed to make themselves look bad.
She was straight. She had a cane too. Did you see that?
I did not see that.
She had a cane, and she had both hands on it while he was speaking, like she was strangling it. I think actually the knob on the cane actually got a little bigger. She was squeezing it. So,
well, she didn't have any text to rip up like she did at that, which was a great moment as well, when Trump gave his State of the Union, and she's sitting behind there with the text of it, and she rips the thing up after. Do you remember that?
Yeah. While he was speaking, she had to put a little rip. She had to put a little rip in each page to make it easier, so that when she finally, she was preparing for it the entire speech.
I didn't see that.
And actually, if Trump really wanted to be a jerk, he could have had the Department of Justice go after her for destruction of an official government document.
Oh man! So there was just here's another thing. I think at one point Trump promised to cure cancer, but didn't Biden do that? Didn't Obama appoint Biden to do that as vice president?
It was a cancer. It was a cancer moonshot. It was something he ran on.
I thought, and there we got a shot of Nancy ripping the and don't remind me. We should talk about flipping the script. Okay. Yeah. All right. Nice transition there. How about Governor Newsom? And now the Democrats, of course, are caught there. They're sitting there in favor of men hitting volleyballs against women and causing brain damage. That's not a good. That's more than an 80-20. That's like a 90-10 issue. Anyway, they're flipping, because Newsom got interviewed by Charlie Kirk, I guess. They just met. And Charlie Kirk, I think, is, I look at him as almost fringe. He's not mainstream Republican, but apparently that's the guy you talk to. And he said he's not in favor of transgender athletes in women's sports. So that's... Well,
he actually said that it's just not fair.
Right.
It's just not fair. He goes, however, there are issues that transgender individuals have to deal with that have to be looked into. He went as far as saying, okay, look, they're mentally ill. He didn't say that exactly, but what he implied was like, these people are kind of sick.
Yeah. And that's California. So I mean, and
Yeah.
if California does that, I mean, now interestingly, Fetterman has not, because he's been the guy who looks like he could reconcile some middle of the roaders with the left, but he's been on the transgender side too. So, but Rahm Emanuel of all people, it was interesting. Jeannie Ives pointed this out before I saw anybody else do that Durbin and Duckworth both voted in favor of transgenders in sports, but Rahm Emanuel had just said on Bill Maher's show, "Oh, we got to get over this bathroom issue." And this, I think he mentioned the sports issue too. So there's definitely a schism there among
Poor
among the Democrats.
poor Rahm always has to use the handicap one.
Yeah, it's and his feet are dangling.
No, I was talking the stand-up one.
Okay. Okay. and so yeah, they've got their problems there. The Democrats, as much as the Republicans are going to have their problems too, because I loved in the speech how Trump went for the jugular, calling for Medicare and Social Security reform right now. I'm just kidding. As far as he was playing from the ladies' tees. I think about this. It's great. I mean, it was just tackling the easiest issues that are imaginable. The $8 million for transgenic or transgender mice. Anybody could rally to that. But
I'm surprised he didn't announce which members of the Republican caucus adopted puppies from rescues.
Oh, okay.
I mean that.
Yeah, right. It's
just like and they brought their puppies in them. Everybody, look at the puppies.
Well, anyway, I thought Al Green should have been dragged out and you could tell that they were ready for that. I mean, Mike Johnson had the script right there on this. Sorry, I will now call the sergeant at arms to drag this guy out like Dr. Dow off the United Airlines flight, and give him lifetime membership in the Red Carpet Burn Club. Bruce Wolf and Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. All right, we do have to mention the guy behind you in the photo, Mr. Zelensky. So I watched. I didn't even watch the whole thing. Did you watch the whole 50 minutes of it? You know me. I'm not gonna.
The
Oval Office meeting on Friday.
It was 50 minutes. It lasted that long.
Apparently it was. Wow. I didn't watch. Yeah. I mean, I watched clips and I read about it.
I guess I didn't.
Yeah, but anyway, this Carly Bond had a tweet about Gutfeld's reaction to Zelensky. And I think Gutfeld had said, let us see here. We got it. Gutfeld destroys Zelensky. We got a new president and he won't get talked down to by a man who is 5'3" and dresses like a cat burglar, which is funny. However, Gutfeld is about the same height, and I think he comes up to Trump's Schwanstucker, which he's, So
well, he actually said that if you actually watch the whole monologue, he actually said, "I can speak as a guy that has to ask the 12-year-old what's going on next to me, what's going on in the parade."
Okay. Hey, speaking of Gutfeld, apparently he had a tweet. He's looking for people who should be guests on his show. And my first thought was Shane Gillis, but then of course Shane Gillis makes fun of Trump, so you can't really do that. But right in our little rundown here, Chris, a big fan of Tim Slagle, thinks that Tim Slagle should be on the Gutfeld show.
I was on his show when it was Red Eye.
Wow,
and it did not go well.
Now I want to hear about it more. Chris, was that a setup? Was that a setup to take Tim down?
I didn't know Tim was on Red Eye.
Yeah.
I used to watch Red Eye pretty religiously too.
Yeah, no, I was on it. I recorded it. I still have a tape. Is that what you would call it now of it? Yeah. I have never watched it. It was so bad. I could not even
Well, this was his off Broadway of the Gutfeld show.
Sure,
This is
he
when
did
was
not have
working
the
out
budget.
kinks.
He did not have the budget to fly people into New York.
Yeah.
So
This
I
is
went down
it's
to.
like me right now. I'm just working out the kinks until I get my show and jettison
Sure.
you palookas. You got that right. All right. So what?
I went down to Fox 32 headquarters, and
okay.
they did the whole thing. Got the makeup, got me in the chair, and they said, we can't get the monitor to work.
Oh, great.
And it's like, well, I'm not going to be able to see the show I'm on. No, you'll have an earpiece, so they'll know when they're talking to you.
Yeah, that's harder.
Oh man,
yeah.
I had, and then there's also that delay.
Yeah.
There's about a 2-second delay. It was just, and it did not go well. And I think the Fox 32 Chicago people, I think that they didn't really like working with Fox News.
Well, when I worked at Fox, when was this that you did this?
90s, I think. Would have been late
really?
90s.
So we overlapped because I
late
worked
90s,
for
early
Fox.
2000. Yeah.
Oh,
well,
Red Eye
that's
didn't
when I
start to
worked.
early
That's when
2000s.
Okay, early 2000s.
Yeah. Well, I was still working at Fox at the time, and people tend to look at things as monolithic entities. That's not the way it works.
Oh, no.
Okay, so because our
I believe I was sabotaged.
Oh, right. Well, I don't normally believe that, that you're when you put your tinfoil hat on, but I could see it because when I worked at Fox, it was called in corporate headquarters, in New York and in LA. We had the gays. We were called the gay station. That's what we were called. And the reason was, I think we had a gay news director. She was great. She was terrific. And we also had gay executive producers, and a lot of people accused me of being but here's the thing. So it was just, so, and they were quite liberal. I mean, it's just like it works for newspapers like the Washington Post. They're all worried about the editorial page, and it happens all the time in Wall Street Journal. But the reporters are always liberals and really set the agenda. So I could see where they didn't like that at all. Although, who was dealing with you? Now you're a little. These are tech guys. Tech guys aren't that ideological like reporters are. But okay, but I'll go with it. So what kind of joke did you try to tell while you were on it?
It was
can't
early
remember.
2000. I can't remember. I think I
made some jokes.
I made some Janine Garofalo insults, I believe.
All right.
That was she was in the news at the time, and that was the big story. I don't think Gutfeld, though. I don't think they're looking for old white men. I think they're. I actually think because I've been watching the show since Tim had her baby.
Yeah,
and I think they're looking for
a chickie.
A chicklet.
Poo.
Yep.
Yeah.
Yep.
I think they just keep.
Go ahead. Go ahead, Chris.
They keep that one chair for the younger, decent looking girl. I don't think Kat Tiffin's that hot, but they're trying to put one that annoying Charlie or not from Clay Travis's Enterprise. There. She's not funny at all.
No.
She's something to look
at.
Michelle
Tafoya.
All right, she's 90.
I love to see Michelle Tafoya on there, and I don't even care how good she is, because I just think of her all those years on the sidelines and having to bite her tongue and not say how she felt about anything. Although I think Al Michaels probably was simpatico, but Bob Costas wasn't. So I'm just trying to imagine, the bitterness there. But she's. I won't watch it because I think they're funny, but it's like, they're the court jesters. I mean, you have your balls cut off because you can never say anything bad about Trump. You can never joke about him. Otherwise, you won't get him as a guest. But I understand that. So let's go. So I hate to agree with David Axelrod, but he had a tweet about
Churchill,
Winston Churchill, and he says, so, and the picture is Trump in the Oval Office with the bust of Churchill there, and a little bit of history about that bust. We've talked about it. The Obama took it out. It had been there before. Right. Obama takes it out. Trump puts it back in. Biden takes it out again. Trump puts it back in, as I see right here. But meantime, he's got a vice president who was placed there by Tucker Carlson, who believes that Churchill was the heavy in World War II. So, am I right or am I wrong? No, Chris, he was just asking questions. So anyway,
I don't know.
Not that
so
heavy.
what did Axelrod say? I didn't even see the quote. I just lost it.
He just said that. I think he talked about the fact that he was un-Churchillian.
Oh, right. And Chris, providing a little editorial comment in our rundown here today. Lest we not forget Churchill's quote: "History will be kind to me, for I intend to write it."
I don't even know. I don't think Biden took it out. I think Obama said, "Oh, that thing again." I think Obama was in there. Did not get rid of that.
Oh, okay.
It's because Biden, Biden was probably like Al Gore, which was one of my favorite scenes. He's touring, I think, the White House. And he said, "Now, who are these statues here?" And the guide goes, "Oh, that's George Washington. That's Thomas Jefferson. That's James Madison."
All right.
So I think Biden. Who is that guy? It's okay, Joe. I'll get him out of here for you. I don't like it. It creeps me out.
Yeah.
Bruce, can I ask you a question?
Yeah.
We are taught history, and then you see these historians, and they're all on like MSNBC. You believe anything John Meacham puts in a history book? He was a speechwriter for Biden. He's on MSNBC constantly.
Who
He's
says
an
I
absolute
believe what
tool.
he has to say?
Because those are the historians that are writing history. So we go back and look at these guys are all goofballs.
There are plenty of historians who are on the conservative side. Paul Johnson. What do you think of Paul Johnson?
We're talking about, all right.
Yeah, I mean, they're not just. I don't buy what the MSNBC historians are saying, but I don't buy these nuts that Tucker Carlson has on too. Now let's turn to something more substantial, and that is wearing a suit in the presence. Zelensky didn't wear a suit. Then
I think Fetterman even wore a suit.
Fetterman wore a suit there. So here's a C-SPAN tweet, because they asked what's her name, Levitt, the 27-year-old girl who's now Trump's press being at the White House, and she was asked about, a reporter asked about President Zelensky not wearing a suit in the Oval Office. The reporter said, "Elon Musk never wears a suit in there. What is the dress code?" And the press secretary Levitt said, "Well, he wore a suit last night to the speech. I think the president liked it very much." And I just wanted to ask a question to her, and you tell me if I'm wrong in the way I'd handle it. I'd go, "Hey, Toots, since we're into decorum all of a sudden, what about Trump driving his golf cart onto the green all the time?" So it's just, I mean, you decide when you want to be all dressed up. You decide when you can call somebody Pocahontas. Not that she didn't deserve it, and that was funny too. I think from that rostrum to call her Pocahontas. I mean, just like you can imagine George. He in one speech he's talking about doing more than George Washington accomplished, and in this august setting, and he's also mentioning calling her Pocahontas. It's too much.
I think what they should do is they should have a policy that you have to have a suit and a tie when you enter the Oval Office. And if you don't have one, it'll be like the Drake Hotel. They'll have like a suit and a tie, like a
ready
suit that's ready for you. It's like a suit, a jacket that's too small, and like an Oliver Hardy tie. It only goes up to your chest bone. So
guess whose wedding reception was in the Gold Coast room of the Drake Hotel? Oh yeah.
Wow.
Yours truly. My mother-in-law's 325 closest friends. It was unbelievable. And
wow.
It was quite a moment. It's only coming up on 50 years. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap. We talk a little bit about the economy right here. Get serious for 1 second. Just set me up for a couple of corny jokes I have.
Sure.
And so Carol Roth had a tweet. I've done a couple of shows with Carol Roth, by the way. She could be on She could be on Gutfeld. Well, she's not a comedian. She's more, but she's really a lot of fun. Have you ever worked with Carol Roth at all?
I never have.
Yeah, she's got a lot of fun. We actually had an argument. I was subbing on the WIND a couple of times, and she lives in the Streeterville area where Jesse Smollett had his confrontation with the MAGA people. And that's the one conspiracy theory, I mentioned that I want to believe in. And boy, she got a little exercised about that, but it was fun. Anyway, she's really good at the economy, and she boils down everything in a tweet that's a little bit comprehensible. So she says, to give a scope to where our priorities should be, and this, of course, is set against Trump saving $1 million here and $1 million there, and pretty soon you're still not talking about a lot of money, because the national debt is $36.5 trillion. Okay, and our government spending is $7 trillion. Our deficit is $2 trillion, and our GDP is $29 trillion. And then we're talking about exports to Canada. It's $350 billion, and a trillion is 1,000 billion. But anyway, it's and if that's a little bit too much to comprehend, how about we do it this way? So I told my wife's psychiatrist that my wife thinks she's a chicken, and he said, "Why didn't you tell her she isn't?" And I said, "Have you seen the price of eggs lately? We need the eggs." All right, now, also, and just to follow that one up, because being the big stand-up guy, that you got to follow it up with another killer, and that is
called a tag.
Trump had better get. Is that what it's called?
Yep.
Okay, I'm going to write that down next to a tag. Trump had better get the price of eggs down, or the chickens will be coming home to roost. Okay, all right, there we go. All right.
They were going to, the Democrats, they were talking about bringing in empty egg cartons that they were going to, which I don't know. It's still not clear who's responsible for the price of eggs. I mean, they want to blame it on Trump because he said he would do the day one, the price of eggs are going to come down. And
I see.
And then Biden said, kill the chickens, I think is pretty much.
Okay.
I can't believe that's a coincidence. And people were already with the egg memes, the gulf of cheaper eggs and how does this bring down the price of eggs? They were all set for it. I can't believe that chicken holocaust was an accident, which leads me to another story that I don't know that we cut in the notes. Did you see that the astronauts are saying why they were up there until March?
Because Biden left them up there, right?
Yeah. We were kind of thinking, well, maybe they can't, maybe the way the orbit works, you can't, it has to synchronize with the launch. Is that Biden said no, he did not want Elon Musk to have that victory in the middle of an election. So those poor people had to sit up there.
Now, you thought it was bad that Zelensky appeared with a Democratic congressman who, by the way, lost in Pennsylvania when he appeared at that. And that, by the way, that was a munitions plant that, Ukraine actually gets munitions from. You thought that was political. But I mean, to not give Musk credit for bringing the astronauts down. Oh, my goodness. Well, yeah. So are they coming down anytime soon? We're going to send a Chinese balloon up there to get them.
I think the next launch is going to go get them.
Oh, okay. So
do you think they did a little moonraker while they were up there? By the way,
which James Bond. Remember that? Don't remember the song to that one. But what happened in Moonraker? What did they do?
I think the last scene is him on a big round bed in the space station.
There we go. Yes. So here's from WGN-TV News. Thank you very much. Trump on the $100 bill that's being suggested. Have you heard about that?
Sure, why not?
Yeah, and
why not? So then all the bills will be dead presidents. Well, eventually. All
right. What, Harriet Tubman was never the president of the United States? I'm trying to remember.
Did they ever do
They never
that?
did it. I don't think they did it.
They were supposed to. They never did.
Now, I'm fine with Trump on that, as long as we don't screw with Art Linkletter on the $100,000 bill. Do you remember the Game of Life? Do you remember that Art Linkletter was?
I do.
And I don't even know. It was kind of weird because it just didn't fit. I mean, there's some reason, there's some joke. And
well, no, I think when the game first came out, it was promoted heavily.
Okay.
On the Art Linkletter show.
Yeah.
So I think that's why. Is
it
still there? Is it still? Do you think the picture's still there?
I have not played in a long time.
By now, it's probably Colonel Mustard.
Yeah. Well, maybe, some like Mrs. White, who was probably DEI'd out of Clue, found refuge and the poor farm in the Game of Life. I would hope so.
Colonel Mustard is East Asian, I believe.
Oh my. All right, let's move on to the next thing real quickly here. So Sean Casten, isn't he a congressman from where I used to live? He was taking Trump to task in a tweet about Trump being evasive, circumventing the regular legislative process, because Trump was going to stop federal funding for any college, school, or university that allowed illegal protest. And Casten said, "You cannot repeal the First Amendment by tweet. I know this because I watched Schoolhouse Rock." Actually, Congressman Casten, I think that you probably watched Saturday Night Live's spoof on Obama when they did a whole Schoolhouse Rock thing. I'm just wondering where he got that idea. And Chris says, "Let's not remember the brilliant Sean Casten for this quote: the effectiveness of the COVID vaccine, et cetera, et cetera." Here's the thing. I think Trump's tweet there is in reference to these illegal protests, these anti-Semitic protests.
Yeah.
And, I don't know if I'm Congressman Casten, if I want to be on the side of anti-Semitic protests, but maybe he does. In any event, there's a rebuttable presumption that he got that idea from Saturday Night Live. So then there's a tweet from Stephen McIntyre. Did you follow the Mark Stein lawsuit? He was sued for libel by.
I did for Michael Mann because he called him an idiot or so. Said he was a fraud.
National Review got sued as well. They wound up getting like $500,000 awarded in attorney's fees based on the suit. And apparently, I mean, and this thing just dragged on forever. And it's a way, it's lawfare. And Stein was beaten up pretty badly just by having to go through the ordeal of the lawsuit forever, even though it was baseless. And this McIntyre just tweeted that Stein, there was a punitive damage award of $5,000, punitive $5,000 against Stein. I mean, we just showed you numbers like 7 trillion and things like that. $5,000 as this punitive award is a total joke. And it reminded me of the $5,000, which I believe was the amount that Jimmy's brother in Better Call Saul. Did you watch Better Call Saul?
I did.
Yeah. Okay. So his brother, played by
Michael McKean.
Michael McKean, exactly. He is a brilliant attorney, nutso, but he's a brilliant attorney. He made a lot of money. He left Jimmy $5,000, just so Jimmy wouldn't be able to tell a court that his brother was incompetent when he made his will. So you just give him enough and so it's the total insult. And by the way, so I tweeted that. Guess who liked the tweet?
Huh.
Oh yeah. Mark Stein.
Wow.
Oh yeah. So you were on Red Eye, but Mark Stein liked a tweet of mine.
What happened to Mark Stein?
He was in the Sun Times for years. Then it was a National Review. I think this lawsuit caused his departure. Then he had his own show for a while.
Well, he was a fill-in host for Rush Limbaugh.
That's the whole thing.
He was quite popular.
He's also a great friend of Tucker Carlson, according to Chris. Well, that's where Mark and I have to part. But Yeah,
I
yeah,
kind
no,
of
he was
thought
just,
that he kind of would come in late, stinking of the whiskey from the night before.
all I
It's
remember about Mark Stein. Mark Stein is absolutely brilliant.
uh-huh.
He's truly a Renaissance man. He could write about songs and their histories, and he loves Broadway musicals and the like, and he always uses references to that. I believe he does tell the story about how he was in some play and Leonard Bernstein stuck his tongue down Stein's mouth. So I mean,
Wow.
there's that. But
Wow.
he was just I used to look forward to reading him in National Review every Saturday. They had a parting of ways. So yeah, he substituted for Rush Limbaugh. Then he's not there anymore. Wasn't on Fox anymore. So I mean, you don't see
Yeah,
him
he
that
just
much,
kind
but
of vanished.
he's still writing. He's still writing. So
He's
in
reading
any
your
event,
tweets. He must be.
I mean, he's liking my tweets. And what he doesn't remember is that he and I actually once got into a little tiff. You got to be careful. These guys are sensitive. Yeah, whereas I'm not. Not at all. I got elephant skin.
You
But
got in a tiff with Mark
a
Stein?
little tiff about that because he got into a tiff with somebody at his workplace, and he private DM'd me on that, but I think he forgot
Wow.
about it. Yeah.
Huh.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. Ooh, what's my name? Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the weekly wrap. Yeah, Mayor Johnson, he testified before Congress. I don't think he tried to pull a Sammy Sosa and say he didn't speak English, but from the clip that I saw was that it was pretty halting and he was evasive because they kept asking him, well, are you going to turn over these illegal aliens to ICE if they say it? And he says, we follow the law. And he just this is a guy with a 7% popularity. I mean, it's
Well, I guess he said something to the effect of that if he actually helped ICE, it would create more crime in the city.
yeah, I see. I see. Okay. Well, in his world, through the looking glass, I'm sure he's correct.
And I don't know
Uh,
if there could be more crime in the city. Could there?
I think we've reached peak crime
Yeah,
in the city. So, did you see where Ben Shapiro is starting a movement to pardon Officer Chauvin of George Floyd fame? It would be a federal pardon by Trump. He couldn't get this off. Then he's been put away for 22 years by the state. It's interesting, and he's got a basis for that case. However, I did see Andy McCarthy, our my dear friend, suggested not pursuing that because Chauvin really wants to be in the federal penitentiary. It's much safer than being in the state penitentiary. So he'd actually not want to be pardoned, which is kind of interesting. But there is
yeah, that's a
that
good point.
basis. You know, I don't want to relitigate this thing. I mean, it wasn't a fair trial. I mean, when you got Biden saying as the jury was going out, they'd better come up with the right verdict, and Maxine Waters, and I think there was a defense expert's house that got burned. I mean, if I were in the jury, I'd be a little shaky about that. And yeah, and there were
I wonder if he would have a civil rights case, because he had as much chance of getting innocent as he has much chance as a black man in Jim Crow Arkansas.
Yeah, there you go. He was
there
was
no way.
It was not a fair trial. That's for sure. I mean, whether he was actually guilty of anything like negligence, I mean, because it hinged on the fact, I forgot the name of the device that they were supposed to restrain him with. It starts with an H. I forgot what it was. I wanted to say halter, but it's not.
Handcuffs.
It wasn't handcuffs. Sounds like let's play Wheel of Fortune with this. But and his defense was he was in such distress that once the ambulance came, it would take too much time to get him out of that, and so that's why he just restrained him himself. I don't know how good a defense that I really don't know, but it's certainly not quite the same thing as I want to murder this guy.
Is what he what he should have done was, the minute that George Floyd said, "I can't breathe," he should have grabbed the little radio and said, "Okay, we've got to get an ambulance here." I mean, and
Well,
that
they
was
did
when
try to get an ambulance. They did, and I mean, the problem is that while they were waiting, and you had people surrounding them saying, get off him, and he stayed.
No, but this is before. This is when they pulled him out of his car.
Oh yeah,
he was saying,
no,
"I can't breathe."
right,
And
and
at that point, he should have said, "I think we have a possible OD here. Get an ambulance." And that he wouldn't have had to, been 12 minutes of kneeling on him.
No, hindsight is well, think of that.
So I mean,
think how history would have changed. I mean, well, I mean, and because you just think about it, part of what got Trump elected was the fact that there were all those protests that summer with people standing arm in arm while everybody else in church had to have a mask on. And it was
also the fact that cities were boarding up their downtown areas on the night of the election. For me, I think that's the reason why no one wanted to pursue allegations of election fraud. No one wanted to be the judge or the FBI agent or anyone that actually overturned that election.
I knew that. Bingo. I knew that. I had it on my bingo card.
And we lose Tom
Litigating
Owens right
the
here.
2020 election. I mean, the bingo, I mean, it's that. It's Gutfeld. It's egg jokes.
But tell Tom Owens he can listen to 3/4 of the podcast before he
and a tiny Rahm Emanuel joke. It's
a tiny Rahm Emanuel, and don't forget Colonel Mustard, because you didn't tie Rahm Emanuel into being ambassador to Japan, but you still got our Asian contingent represented there.
I love it at NBC.
So, all right. I don't want to talk about sports. I don't want to get Tim on that. Oh, so all right. You could vamp right. Oh, did you see that there's going to be a stamp for William F. Buckley Jr. on his 100th birthday? They're actually coming up with a stamp for William F. Buckley, which reminds me that of David Fry's, yes, Catherine Jean Lopez. I knew we were hoping for this, and it's evidently for real. The William F. Buckley Jr. stamp, WFB at 100. It reminds me of David Fry's WFB impersonation, which was, if I may do this, I'm the only person in the world who can lick an envelope when it's already in the mailbox. So that's my David Fry, but it's apropos. And by the way, while we were talking right now, and I had tweeted that out, Richard Brookhiser, who was going to be the heir apparent to National Review, but Buckley skipped over him and left a note for him, like, "You're not getting the job." It was very, very personal. It scarred Brookhiser for life. But he went on to write some great biographies.
Did you see that Denmark just closed down their post office?
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Why?
They just it's because no one uses it. There's absolutely no need to have a post office anymore. Denmark decided, and
well, right. I mean, nobody's writing. So, well, first of all, why William F. Buckley would have be against anything that had the federal imprimatur on
Sure.
it. He was against that. So yeah. But Brookhiser tweeted to me that was funny. I mentioned the David Fry impersonation, and he said, but the real mark of his manner and harder to catch was his eyes. It's interesting. So, but in any event, all right, you want to go back to sports, or you want to tell us what you're doing this? When's your next gig, so I don't miss it? I don't miss talking about it.
It's got a big thing coming up March 26th in Minneapolis. Is somebody just the club that I've been working there for the past 33 years, Acme Comedy Company in Minneapolis, is a book just came out on the history of Acme Comedy Company, and I've been there more than anyone.
Okay,
So,
well, and I would hope that you're going to watch as prep for this. the George Floyd inspired Minneapolis burning, which disappointed me because I wanted to believe that it had new information about George Floyd, but about its innocence, rather about Chauvin's innocence. But it really was just, and not that this wasn't worth seeing, at least the first 25 minutes or so was just about, how the mayor just allowed them to burn down the police station, and how horrible that was.
The mayor's kind of a kook. He essentially wants to get rid of cars in the city, and Mayor Fry, which is also a drug reference, but he thinks that bicycles should be enough. Bicycles and mass transit should be enough.
How about rickshaws? Should we go to that?
In Minneapolis, bicyles in Minneapolis.
Covered wagons. How about that? Let's go back to 1923. Speaking of, are you watching Taylor Sheridan 1923?
Not yet, so you can't talk about it.
Okay, I can't tell you, but here's the thing. Okay, this is a Twitter question. So yesterday, Taylor Sheridan follows me on Twitter. Okay, I think it's Taylor Sheridan. So, and no, you can come on. It's not Tim. You can come on. This is not Taylor Sheridan follows me on Twitter. At least I think it's him. Well, it's not a blue check mark on it, and then shortly after that, and I've commented on the shows and all that, but shortly after that, I get this direct message invitation to take part in a special thing for people who watch it or whatever, where you can meet some of the stars, online or something. I mean, it might be legit, but I never, me, how gullible I am.
Might be the promotional Taylor Sheridan account.
It probably is the promotional Taylor Sheridan, because how could Taylor Sheridan? He's too busy writing the next blockbuster. I mean, look at all the years that he hasn't covered.
Did you get the forced vaccine message?
Huh?
Did you get the forced vaccine message in the last episode?
Let's take Tim off. What?
The forced vaccine. So the girl gets bitten by the wolf.
Yeah, right. Oh, yeah, right.
And they had to hold her down to give her the vaccine when she didn't want it. Did you read into that at all?
I just thought she was worried that she already had a scar on her stomach and she was vain. But now you're thinking it's a vaccine deal, right?
You always say that Taylor Sheridan's like, he's writing for the Republicans or something, and
I thought, but the thing is, he's so pro Native American. Oh, how about the whole thing about the racism of everybody who didn't like miscegenation or intermarriage.
It's kind of half and half talk, because remember it was different Indians.
Let's bring Tim back on, because we got to end this podcast. Okay.
1923 talk in the bonus section.
Yeah, but we just cut off Tim. The podcast is ending. It's over right now, isn't it? We're done.
Yeah, pretty much.
Bruce Wolf, Tim Slagle on the Weekly Wrap.
And that's the Weekly Wrap on radio and television. Follow Bruce at Bruce Wolf Shy on Twitter and Tim at timslagle.com. The Weekly Wrap with Bruce Wolf, a CP Pods production.